That's the introduction to me. It's 100 degrees and consumption of grief. There's nothing I see. The corruption, the greed. Hard to function when we feel the pressure of a volcano before eruptions release. But I can't wake up from this sleep. And consumption of grief. The corruption, the greed, and consumption of grief. There's nothing I see in consumption of grief. It's 100 degrees and consumption of grief, and consumption of grief, and consumption of grief. As the grief consumes, it's hard to breathe when it do. You run the game till it freeze and resume. I try to run relationships how a kingdom would do. You track me and your cycle, want my freedom to choose. You left without leaving the clues. As the grief consumes, as the grief consumes, we don't understand the reasons we do. The reasons we do the things that we do. As the grief consumes, 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 as the grief consumes. Who knew you'd be so easy to lose? I couldn't believe what she do. First she clingy, then she wants to be released and removed. I've seen and I viewed how a dream could come true. I grew some wings and I flew. I swept you off your feet. You felt that breeze from my move. I had you on my team and my crew. Do anything you wanted to do. Swimming in emotions, I got deep in that pool. With relationships sinking the cruise. You wanted a ring and I do not think it's a reasonable move. You wanted a ring and I do not think it was a reasonable move. As the grief consumes, as the grief consumes, it's hard to breathe when it do. You run the game then, as soon as it frees you resume. I try to run relationships how a kingdom would do. You trap me in your cycle, I want my freedom to choose. You left without leaving the clues. As the grief consumes, as the grief consumes, as the grief consumes, as the grief consumes, we don't understand the reasons we do. The reasons we do the things that we do. As the grief consumes, as the grief consumes. You ain't understand why I think it's so soon. It was some things we needed to do. You started pulling back, there was no pleasing your mood. Your heart freezing up too. Arguments heated and fueled. Felt a part of me briefly recluse. Guess that's what's allowing the grief to consume. You ain't understand why I think it's so soon. There was some things that we needed to do. You started pulling back, there was no pleasing your mood. Your heart freezing up too. Arguments heated and fueled. Felt a part of me briefly recluse. I guess that's what's allowing the grief to consume. As the grief consumes, as the grief consumes, it's hard to breathe when it do. You run the game, then assume as it frees you resume. I try to run relationships how a kingdom would do. You trap me and your cycle, want my freedom to choose. You left without leaving the clues. As the grief consumes, as the grief consumes, we don't understand the reasons we do. The reasons we do the things that we do. As the grief consumes.